Hello and welcome back to my RC channel. I'm Andy RC and today I'm going to be taking a look at the FullSpeed TinyLeader HD edition. Now I do have the analog edition as well, but I thought there were too many differences to compare them in the same video. The first one being, of course, that the HD edition records in 1080p 60 whilst transmitting its FPV feed to your goggles, whereas this one just has got your normal analog camera on the front of it, and the weight differences are quite substantial as well for this size. So the analog edition without a battery, by the way neither of these come with a battery, is 45 grams, and then the HD version is 56 grams. Now I'm lucky enough to have one of these batteries that you can only get on pre-order at the moment, and they are a GMB 300 mAh 2S battery, and they are designed exactly to fit the 3D printed mount underneath there. And with the battery that I have got here, it weighs 76 grams for the HD edition, and then 65 grams for the normal analog edition. So yeah, quite a difference in weight there, so I think it's going to be quite a difference in performance. So I'm going to be reviewing the analog version at a later date. So let's take a look at the specifications of this guy. We have got FullSpeed branded motors. They are an 1103 11,000 kV. We have got these ducts here, and what is interesting is that the front motors are further apart than the back motors. Now we'll have to see how this will affect the flight characteristics, because the Dead Cat configuration used to have a similar setup to this, but they were difficult to tune and fly. Now I'm going to be using their stock tune when I fly this, but I thought it was something interesting to note. So the camera is the Codex Turtle, but it's the V2, so it's got some upgrades and maybe some downgrades depending on the kind of gear that you have got. So it now has got a hole in the right place so that it's easy to mount, and they have also changed the way the 4x3 and 16x9 is done, so they have followed the Runcam Split Mini. So before, 16x9 mode actually was 4x3 still, and it just gave black borders. Now it stretches it completely, same as the Split. Now this is good if you have got 16x9 goggles, because you get the entire 16x9 image, but if you've got 4x3 goggles such as Fat Sharks, then it's going to distort the image on the horizontal. So just like I've said before, you are going to want to select the 4x3 option, but unfortunately the 4x3 option crops the sides, so you don't get the full field of view of the camera. So to me, that is a downside. Another thing that they have changed as well is they have added a microphone, and that is here up the top. Now I've got a cable tie around here because this TPU printed mount that they have got, it comes loose when flying. So the first fly I did, this was just dangling out there, so maybe some hot glue would be good for a permanent solution. But of course, if you need to take any of this apart, you know, hot glue, it can get quite messy, so I've gone with the cable tie. You'll also notice a couple of other cable ties as well. So this is the antenna for the receiver, which they have just wedged in there, and then this antenna was just coming out underneath here, and then same for the VTX, it was just dangling. So we have got the motor wires here on JST connectors, which is quite handy, and I've been able to put a cable tie around both of these antennas like that, and you can also push them back a little bit as well. Otherwise they're just dangling and they're probably going to end up going in the props, or you are not going to get great reception. Now, before you do add a cable tie to the antenna, I would make sure that you bind the model first, because the receiver is there. It's full speed zone receiver. This is the FR Sky version, but it comes in other versions as well. So we have got DSM-X, we've got Fly Sky 2A, and then we've got Plug and Fly as well. Now, this is a D8 receiver, so it can be used with EU or FCC, and you have to press a button, of course, to bind it. So what I did was, before I cable tied this up, is I pushed the receiver out, and then that will let you access the button. You have to hold it down and then plug in your battery, and it will bind in D8 mode. So one thing that they have done, which I think is a bit daft, is they have left the on-screen display on of the Cadex camera, and they haven't given you the board to get rid of all of the information. Now, they have given us the connector here, and it just so happens that I have got one of these because I reviewed the V1 and it works, but they really need to sort that out, you know, or at least provide this. They've probably done some kind of deal with Cadex where, you know, they can get it cheaper if they don't have all of this extra stuff, but they haven't turned it off, and that is annoying. So that's something that I have done. Also, something that is quite tricky is actually getting the thing to record, because when you get it out of the box, it is not set to auto recording. And the way that you do start the recording is this button here. So of course I went into here and set auto recording, because when you disconnect the battery, it still saves the footage. So you don't have to carry around one of these to start and stop the recording, because you would really struggle to get your nail in there. But, you know, if you don't have this, then, you know, you can still get to it, just be careful. Now, the micro SD card is also quite difficult to get to. There's no protection, so if you have a heavy crash, then it could ping out. It is spring loaded. What I do like about this, though, is that we do have a bit of carbon, at least, which is something that we haven't really seen on these 2S Whoops yet. And the reason that's a good thing is that these ducts, if you want to call them that, are flimsy and they break easily. But look, you don't have to replace the entire frame. If you break one, you can buy individual ones, and I really like that. And for all of these people complaining that their frames are breaking, then maybe this is the way we need to go, Tiny Whoop designers. So I think it's safe to say that some compromises have had to be made in order to get this HD system in there. For example, can you see the VTX? No, that's because it is underneath everything, and it is FullSpeed's own VTX. It is a switching VTX using the tramp protocol. However, it comes locked to 25 milliwatts out of the box, and also some of the channels are locked as well. Now, because the VTX is right down here, the button to unlock it is really difficult to get to. In fact, I don't think the camera is ever gonna focus on it because of the ducts, but no, you can just about see the button there. So to unlock it, you have to hold it for 20 seconds and then disconnect and reconnect. And I thought that the tramp protocol wasn't working at first because I changed the channel and nothing happened, but it was because it's locked out of the box. So yeah, watch out for that one, and it's very difficult to get to because the VTX is right at the bottom here. By the way, it doesn't quite do 600 milliwatt. I tested it at 500 milliwatt, and then at 25 milliwatt it was only producing about 9 milliwatt. That's good for indoors. It means you will get less reflections, but it did do 500 milliwatt if you feel like you need that amount of power. But remember, the more power you put out of your VTX, the more reflections you will get if you're flying around, say, I don't know, trees or indoors or something like that. Now, one thing I'm also not happy about is the limited camera angle. Now, I would love something to fly indoors that can record in HD, but this cowling here is allowing a camera angle of maybe 25 degrees. It looks more than that. Personally, I think after this review I'm going to be cutting some of this out so I can have a flatter camera angle, because I think it's going to be quite difficult to fly indoors. As for the rest of the guts, the ESCs are FullSpeed's own BL Halley S 8 amp ESCs, and then the flight controller is a F4 flight controller, and the Betaflight version was 3.52. Now this might be a bit of a downside. It is their own target and it is not available from the Betaflight drop down list, so you'll have to go to FullSpeed to get the latest and greatest firmware. So you could see that as a plus side or a downside, because, well, I guess they are working on their own version of the firmware, but you know, it's not as easy as going in Betaflight and just selecting it from a list. So what else do you get in the box? Well, this is what it came in, and nothing apart from 2 stickers. As for the Betaflight setup, it borderline needed a full setup for me. Now I know the FullSpeed guys like to race rather than do freestyle, but things like air mode wasn't selected or dynamic filters. The on-screen display was okay, but it needed a couple of adjustments. I've left the PIDs, but I have put my own rates in there. I had to change the power and battery settings, and also there's no buzzer, so you're going to want to turn on RX lost. There's no current meter with this, and also the voltage scaling needed changing as well. So you're going to need to be accustomed to Betaflight if you want to get this one, and I'm not going to go through the setup this time, but I am going to use their PIDs because they are unusually high. Alrighty, let's have a go of this guy. Line of sight. Now the sun is out today, however that is very deceiving because it's also freezing as well. And did you see how the wind caught that thing there on takeoff? Right, so line of sight, this is really just to see how much power the thing has got. So yeah, it's not got as much power as all of these other 2S whoops, but that's hardly surprising considering it's carrying a Codex camera HD. Having to really combat the wind there. This is acro mode that we are in, and that is the angle it is requiring to combat the wind, so probably not the best day for flying this thing. Yeah, the wind's coming that way. But what I'm looking for is potential tuning problems, and I'm not hearing or seeing any. Of course, any problems that are severe usually show on the FPV flight because we are moving forward more quickly. It's really getting pushed around by the wind, so I think that is an indication of this one actually requiring a calmer day. But let's go for another punch just so you can see. That's full throttle. Not bad. I would say about the same as the LDARC series. So the GT7 and the GT8. They used 2S but lower kV. And the power feels like that. But yeah, it's getting knocked around by the wind. I can do acro with it though. Just need to give it plenty of power. I think that did a yaw washout from that maneuver. So let's have a look. Yes, I think it is doing. Let's try one more time but closer. So this is 300 milliamp 2 SGMB battery. It's probably getting towards the end of the battery. It didn't do it that time. Okay, enough talking. Let's do some FPV with it. So here is some DVR footage, and straight away I'm going to show you the field of view that is lost by going 4x3, which I think is a great shame. And just like the Split Mini 2, I think they need to come up with more options for 16x9 and 4x3. So if you've got 4x3 goggles, you should be able to crop the top and get the full image. And if you have 16x9 goggles, then you should be able to stretch the entire thing like you can currently and have both options. Now, this is a rare day because we have got blue skies and we are getting some rolling shutter jello, but I have no doubt that if it was overcast that you would not see that. It is the high exposure day that we have here, and it's letting a lot of light into the camera. Therefore, any tiny vibrations coupled with the rolling shutter of the camera will produce jello, and as you will see when I fly it indoors a little bit later, that goes away. So maybe some ND filters might be useful for this camera. Now, as far as I can see, the bitrate and also the resolution hasn't changed, but you know, the picture looks great. Alright, we've got quite a fisheye effect on there. We are not allowed to do dynamic stretching because it is a trademark. Now, I tried to trick this thing out and I actually couldn't unless I tried my signature Andy RC cartwheel. So let's go for another one, and it just flattens out there. But any other maneuver, such as an inverted yaw spin or a 4-point roll or anything like that, could not trick it out. So I was pretty happy with the tune, I have to say, and I think in general it's a good package. You know, there are room for improvements for sure, but it is these initial products that come out that pay for the development of future development, and I'm all for that. I'm doing a bit of a range test here, and as you can see on the 25 milliwatt setting we have got crystal clear video, so I have no doubt that that is producing 25 milliwatt, which is good. But as you will see, the battery voltage decreases very quickly and we lose the picture. So be very careful of that because there is less voltage sag with this one, and it seems to struggle to sustain flight anywhere below 6.3 volts or so, so watch out for that. So here we are indoors, and this has been my dream from the start of this quadcopter hobby, and that is a indoor model that can do 1080p 60 and do it well and have low latency and have good quality, and that is what we have got. And as you can see, as the exposure is lower because inside the house it is darker, then that jello has gone away. So 90% of the time the days are overcast here, so I don't expect jello in the picture, and I'm really happy with the result. Now, because the field of view is narrower in the 4x3 setting, I was finding myself bashing into things, and as I say before, I would love the black border lines in the 4x3 option so that we can get a full field of view, but it seems like they are not going in that direction, so you will have to use 16:9 goggles if you want to take advantage of the full field of view. But in general, I give this product a thumbs up. I like what they are doing, and I will put a link in the description, and if you can afford to do so, then I'll link to my Patreon in the below, and I'll leave you with some flying. So as always, thanks so much for watching. Please continue to subscribe. Cheers.
It's been a roller coaster, but you stayed. And now I'm taking over for the day. 'Cause I can be what you